Hi, my name is John Brown, and what I want to talk to you today about is a character I created back in the 80s. And his name was Deadpool. Okay? Deadpool was born on January 5th of 1987. Now, what I had done was I had created a little project to help keep my favorite comic book company in business. And I did it for no money. I did it because I loved my comic books that I got from them, and I wanted to help out, was what I really wanted to do. Recently I found out there was being a movie made, and my Deadpool is just a little bit different than Rob Liefeld's Deadpool, which I really can't complain about. My Deadpool had Rockwell 650 steel swords, and Rockwell 650 steel swords were a little bit easier to replace than adamantium, even though I left a note for the editor that he could always change them if he needed to, and that was on the back of the paper. But anyway, to make a long story short, Deadpool was really inspired by a Teen Titans character called Slade Wilson, and I didn't know his name was Slade Wilson at the time. It was probably around December 27th or 28th that I was walking through Berlin Farmers Market, and I saw the Teen Titans cover with Slade Wilson on it. And his name was Deathstroke the Terminator. And I remember seeing the cover that said, Deathstroke the Terminator, the bad guy that kills with honor. So, with that in mind, and I kind of took that, I was home on the floor drawing and just doodling around. And basically I had what was a John Romita Spider-Man, and Romita had small eyes on his Spider-Man, and McFarlane was a big-eyed Spider-Man character. So I had started to draw the big eyes on the character, and it just didn't work out, and I wound up shading them in black, and I etched out with the eraser nub the little beady eyes. And what I did was I had a character that was basically a Spider-Man ninja. And I put two swords and a gun on him, and I left it at that. One of the following nights, I was watching a show called Entertainment Tonight. And the host, Lisa, turned around and mentioned that Clint Eastwood was wrapping up a new film due out sometime in '88. And I said, wow, I said, you know, here's a movie that's getting made, and it's getting released a year after, and they're mentioning this in '86, that they're going to have this movie out in '88. And the movie was called The Deadpool. So, with that being a cool name, I kind of wanted to name my character Deadpool. And that's exactly what I did. His name comes from a combination of kids I went to school with. Originally, I wanted to call the character Charles Chuck Wilson, but I don't think Chuck Wilson, who I went to school with, would appreciate me naming a character after him. So I kept Wilson's last name. My other friend, Wade McNair, I liked Wade's first name, so I named him Wade Wilson. Now, did I know at that time that Wade Wilson and Slade Wilson? No. The reality of it was a very funny coincidence. It probably a 1 in a million coincidence. I had sent my stuff out probably around January 17th of the new year, was '87, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't get a letter back from them. And when I went back down the flea market, there was the book again, and then it said Slade Wilson on it, and I says, oh my God, they're not going to make this character because, he's a copy of another character from another company. But he got his middle name from my mother. And when I asked my mother, I said, I need a good name with a W to put in the middle, because I like the idea of having 3 W's. And she said, I like the name Winston. And Wade Winston Wilson was born. Now, when you look at the character, I wanted a character to push the comics code. He had to be chaotic good, little crazy, and the name Potty Mouth should come up when he cursed. I saw a comic with Wolverine in it, and at the end of the comic it said, get ready for some pretty intense SIC. And I'm like, okay, why don't we change that and do something different? So I asked my mother again, who was doing dishes at the time. I said to her, hey Mom, I said, I need something to put in place of a curse word. It can't be the F word, it can't be the S word, it can't be any of the 6 bad words. I said, I need something. And me and my mother talked, and there was a friend of ours that was sleeping around the neighborhood with everyone, and she didn't like foul language, so she called everyone Potty Mouth, which was funny because, So anyway, Potty Mouth was born with the character. The fact that he had samurai swords, when I had finished drawing the character and was working on another piece of this stuff that I have here, that I basically made duplicates of it back then. The original stuff was a little bit better and was colored. My Deadpool was still red and black. He was still red and black, but it wasn't colored on this photo. But all my stuff still has the poor man's copyright. One of my friends saw the samurai swords, and I didn't know it at the time. His name was Bill Egan Sr. And Bill Egan Sr. saw the swords, and he says, what are you drawing there, John Brown? And I said, I'm drawing samurai swords. I want my character to kill with honor. And Mr. Egan got very upset. He was there to work on the heater, and he said, let me tell you something, boy. He says, there's no honor in killing another man with that weapon. He said, there's no government, there's no nothing, it's just killing. And he got upset and he went down our basement, and his son was already down there. His son came up, and my mother had painted an alligator on an oil tank that was down in the basement. And he came up and he says, I told my father there's artists in the family. He said, don't mind him. He said, it's just one of them things that my father was in the March of Bataan, and he saw that weapon used firsthand, and I never realized that that's what bothered him. I put a gun on Deadpool, and Billy says to me, he says, you know what your Uncle Bobby calls guns? And I said, no, what does he call them? He calls them doorknobs, and it goes back to the Lady and the Tiger. And basically, when you turned a doorknob, it was either one or the other. And in Bobby's mind, the woman killed you slowly, and the tiger killed you quickly. So both doors was death. And that's what carrying the gun meant, and having a doorknob. I know coming out after so many years and talking about this is going to bother a lot of people, and it's going to crush a lot of egos. And the reality of it is I need to tell the truth about this. There's no money involved here. I haven't gotten a check. I've never gotten credit for it. My idea behind this at the time was my fear of not getting my favorite comic book as a 15-year-old. What I decided to do was to see if I could help out and pitch in an idea for a book, which they made 4 years after the fact. And that's in his paperwork too. Same with another character in here and a backstory for what was basically part of a movie. I haven't decided to say anything about it until now, but it kind of irks me that when people talk about creating a character, it's a lot harder when you're looking at a blank piece of paper. It's not something that I can just hand to you and say, here, name this. It doesn't work that way. When I tell you I had to go through a stack of books and go through every superpower that they had and decide that my character was going to be a well-grounded, well-gear-based character, there was a lot of thought put into that. The idea of a bag wasn't really my idea as much as it was a thought to put in there. One of my friends had done role-playing and mentioned a magic bag that carried any kind of goods, but it couldn't carry a dagger because it would blow up. So it was just an afterthought for a vehicle and any of that other stuff. That stuff I wasn't responsible for. But primarily my character that I created, I'm responsible for that. And I still maintain the copyright for it. So, I mean, with that being said, we could argue back and forth. And like I said, some egos are going to be crushed. But I needed to come out and tell the truth. And telling the truth today is a very rare commodity. And I believe that the real people need to step up and come out and tell the truth. And with that, I'm more than welcome to answer any questions you have or put another video up if need be. Thank you.